In the workplace, there is no gender because the paycheck does not look at the gender. The paycheck looks at deliverables, impact, outcomes, and so on. And so you find out that you find yourself in a dilemma where you have to balance motherhood with the workplace. So that could be very tough. There was a time when, I remember when my children were going to school and I had to shuttle between the office and the home and get the children to school, get them picked in time, because if you don't get your kids picked in time, you pay a fine, and then get back to work. And there were times when I had to leave Apapa to go to Ikeja, or Yaba, pick one or two kids from school, drop them in Bagada and dash back to Apapa. I'm not sure one could do that these days with the traffic and all, but it was just really tough then. So those were some of the tough times. Then there were times when the kids were ill. You know, if a baby is sick and having temperature and you have to leave in the middle of the night to rush a child to hospital after having tepid sponged by yourself at home and all that, that gives a lot of anxious moments. But the one I remember very clearly was when my son, my younger son, who was then a year and a half old, fell very ill, and we had to travel to the Far East because my husband was working there then. And he was on intravenous injections every 6 hours, and we had to travel. So we had to take an injection in the hospital and then take a dose in the airport while waiting to board. And when we got to Amsterdam, we took another dose of injection. We had to go to the airport clinic. Of course, the airline had informed them. And so that was a very, very trying one. I was really worried, and we still had to embark on that trip. But thank God he survived it, and he's a very strong young man today. So motherhood could be very challenging, but it's joy all the way. Even during the challenges, you still feel the joys of motherhood. I remember when I had to advance my career by going for further postgraduate work, and I was expecting a baby at that time, and I had to stay up and SWOT, read for exams while I was carrying a pregnancy, and I was able to pull through. I think I had the best result in my set. So I think motherhood just always adds to you whichever way. So despite the challenges, it always comes out with the best results and you come out on top. Exceptional mom, shape the future. Juggling between my job and my role as a mother has been very interesting for me. I know that my children would say, oh, mommy is a disciplinarian. I once told them to critique me, because I like people to critique me, tell me what my weak points are, because that makes me stronger, because I work on them. But I was bold enough one day to ask my children to critique me. And I boldly made that demand, hoping that I would get all the scores in the world. But when they started to critique me, I was shocked. And I said, wow, I didn't know I was such a terrible mother. I thought I was a terrible mother. And my children said, no, mommy, we score you 90%, but these are your flaws. I then mentioned one of my friends, and they said, wow, we can't even score that friend of yours more than 30%, because even her children would say this about her. So really, balancing motherhood and work and a career, it means being friends with your children, being friends with even your children's friends, and being able to balance work with that. The kind of personality that can play with children and be friends to the children's friends is a bit different from the kind of personality in the workplace, because in the workplace you need to be stern when you need to be. You need to balance things, or else there'll be no discipline, and the gender thing would come in. Whereas you don't have to be too strong that you become labeled as a Margaret Thatcher. So it becomes a bit difficult for a woman to really stay in the middle, being able to balance sternness, disciplinarianism, and the warmth and love that comes comes with a mother or a woman. But I think for me, I can't really assess myself, but I assess myself from the way my external environment responds to me. Up till now, my children's friends, they play with me, they come to visit me, they know I have a sweet tooth and they bring me sweet things, knowing I'm a health professional and I advise people against that, but they allow me to indulge. They come in, those who are males, they come in and introduce their girlfriends to me. When they're ready to get married, they always put me next to their moms and say, I must let Mrs. Bright know that I'm getting married. This is my choice. And even my daughter's friends too, they are my friends. We gist, I can gist with my children's friends. So looking at all that, I think I've been able to balance motherhood with career because I'm still a career woman. I still work, I still go to work, but I also nurse my grandchildren. You've met 3 of them this morning. I do that along with work, and I'm used to carrying my children, my grandchildren. They sit on my laps while I'm working at my laptop, and sometimes I switch over to a cartoon for them. They watch their cartoons on my laptop, and then I say, now it's time, grandma has to work, you have to go, and then they go and all that. So it's not really so easy balancing it, and there are times when I have official meetings. I remember there was a time we had a ministerial briefing at a co-hotel, and there was no one to nurse, to take one of the grandkids for me. And I thought of carrying that baby in the, I had put her in the car seat, ready to take her with me to that event. And I said I'll just carry her in like a handbag and explain to people that I was stuck with my granddaughter that day. But luckily, the nanny came in just before, and I was able to go for my meetings. So it's just a question of balancing it, but I love doing that. I'm really proud to be a mother and a grandmother, and I assure women out there that you don't have to drop your career because of motherhood. You can balance it very well and still be at the top. But like one of my cousins who was a general manager in a public corporation said, you drop the mother cloak at the office entrance, and immediately you leave the office, you put it back on. The mother and wife cloak. You put on the managerial cloak and get into your office, and immediately you leave your office, you drop the managerial cloak and put back on your mother and the wife cloak. So that's just the way to balance it. It's challenging, but it is doable. Little beginnings, yes, because when I got married, I was actually a youth corper. I had just completed my internship. I'm actually a pharmacist and a public health practitioner. So I had just completed my internship, and I was doing my youth corps when I got married. And I remember in those days, whenever we went for the youth corps camp, we had lawyers, pharmacists, and doctors always went to the camp a week ahead of everybody else. And because the doctors and the pharmacists would have done their internship and housemanship, most of us would have had cars because we'd have worked for a year. So I remember I had this Beetle when I went for my youth corps, and I was among the few people that had cars on the camp then, because we were the health professionals, we had our cars and all that. It was a highly privileged thing, but the Beetle was always seen as a small car, So I had my own little beginnings, and when we got married, I was using that Beetle, and then later on, my husband also bought a Beetle, and so we had 2 Beetles, and that's how we started with our little beginnings. And we were living with my parents-in-law. We lived with them for about 7 years before we moved to our own rented quarters. So definitely we did have very little beginnings, and that's also part of the fun and the storyline. Exceptional mom, shape the future. Yeah, little beginnings should never ever humble anybody into or prevent them from achieving the highest heights in life. When I started, I had a salary of, like I told you, I was a youth corper when I got married. So I had a salary of 180 naira a month. And he was so little, and I was so naive at the time. I got married at the age of 21. So, but I had finished my education. I was already a pharmacist at 20 plus. And at 21, I was so naive, really. I didn't know anything. So that 180 naira, I would buy food, cook, do everything, manage with it. I never even thought of asking for housekeeping allowance from my husband. I never thought of things like that. And I was able to manage and get by. But it was really tough, but we managed, you know. And then with time, we started to understand things better. I understood that I was entitled to ask for allowances and so on. So if you are at a stage where you are either doing it alone and you're a mother, or you are not doing it alone, but you are at the stage of your little beginnings, don't ever be discouraged. I feel quite happy because today I'm at the peak of my career. I was able to get to the top in the civil service, and then I started off my own organization, and today I am quite comfortable. God has been very good to me, and I am not boasting, but I'm really thankful to God. And I want us to know that there is nothing as good as having contentment and hard work. People always say that hard work doesn't pay, but I tell you, it pays. Honesty and hard work, as rare as they come, they are the best policies to imbibe because it will always pay you off. I have never lacked any good thing in my life, and I have never begged for food. Yet, I have never classified myself as a rich person, but God always provides my needs. So, it is good that if you are having humble beginnings, you move on. Like I told you, my children are grown up. My daughter is married. She also has been going through her own little beginnings, and I always encourage her that she's going to get to the top. She's going to become so wealthy. She would become a philanthropist probably, like me. So it is always good to start with little beginnings because that way you appreciate what you have more, and you know you've worked for it. So you don't get nursed by a sense of guilt as you move on in your life. I feel very deserving of what I have today. Not that I'm boasting, it is the grace of God. But I feel very deserving because I've worked in the past. I did not get it by any funny means. I'm not looking over my shoulder to see who is knocking there, and I'm scared. And God has given me a comfortable existence without being, I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. And I really thank God for it. And so I advise women out there, you don't need to take any shortcuts. Continue in your dogged, hardworking, loyal manner, and God will reward you surely. Yes, it is possible to actualize your dreams while raising children. I gave you the example of when I was expecting. That was my youngest child, and she's so brilliant and so gifted. She's a lawyer today. Both my daughters read law actually, but she read law and then went on to do fine arts, and she's really gifted. I conceived her when I was reading, when I was advancing my career while still making a family. So it is very possible. There are some women who work in highly demanding jobs, and the men would say, oh, you have to choose between your job and me, or between your job and the home. I have a cousin who once walked into a boardroom and got his wife out of the boardroom meeting, and the woman got demoted. So women do go through a lot in their career, but that my cousin's wife, she doggedly stayed on, kept her home, relinquished her career temporarily, and then came back more formidable, and she ended up becoming the president of the council, of the regulatory council of her professional body. So a woman does not need to drop her career. If need be, to preserve the home, she may need to slow down a bit on the career, and then she comes back. I had to leave my job for 2 years to travel to Zimbabwe with my husband some years ago. But I went back to my career when I came back, and I have been even stronger on my career. So a woman does not need to drop her career because of family. She can juggle both. You know, the truth about us women is that God made us to be very resilient. We are very strong, we are very resilient. You just need to be strong in your heart. You cannot be a lily-livered woman. A lily-livered woman is a woman who breaks down in public crying when she has emotions. That is being lily-livered. I am not lily-livered, and I don't admire women who do things like that. They are a disgrace to womanhood. A woman should be able to stand her own in public, in the workplace, and in her home. She should know how to balance things. She should know when to take a stand and when to be humble and to be submissive. It is a very, very challenging thing, especially for career women. I'm not going to pretend that it is easy, but it is doable. Every child needs to know that it is important to work very hard for money. It is very unfortunate and disheartening that in Nigeria today, they keep finding bundles and bundles of currency in various denominations and various country currencies in people's homes. That is such an opposite of what examples children should see. And every parent who is worth their salt should coach their children about hard work, savings, and sweating for money. Because the truth about money is that easy come, easy go. If money is fraudulently obtained, it's going to go in the same way it came. So money that is fraudulently obtained is just paper. And from my own religion, I'm a Christian, I have learned that the love of money is the root of all evil. So I have taught my children never ever to put money first in anything they do. Of course, we all need money, and I always tell people, I love money, I need money. I mean, if I didn't have money to buy these pearl imitation pearls, I won't be wearing them today. If I didn't have money to buy this suit, I won't be wearing it today. So yes, we all need money, but we must not love money in a way that we compromise our religious standards or moral standards for money. And those things are not taught in adulthood. The adult is already made. You teach from childhood. A child who picks a penny or a naira note or even 50 kobo that is not his should be taught that this is not yours. And you teach it from childhood, and you also let children know that they need to learn to work hard. Then they will tell you that the politicians are stealing, and you tell them that is wrong, and they should never follow the wrong way, because there will always be a reward even for those wrong things. It's just that when such people are getting their rewards, nobody really sees them when the downturn comes for them. So it is very important that we teach our children to be frugal with money. And it starts with not exposing them to too much money. Don't leave too much money around the house. But occasionally you can also test your children, because a child who sees money and takes it is stealing. So you teach them not to steal. Occasionally you do it deliberately, leave money around and see if they will take it. And then you teach them that that is pilfering and they shouldn't do it. But you don't give your child too much money and say you're taking care of a child, you're providing. Provide for their basic needs, but don't give them more than they need. And don't throw money around in a way that children can pick it. And we ourselves should be very ethical in everything we do. If I'm a thief, then what stops me from imparting it on my child, even without knowing that I have imparted it on my child? So let us be honest, and let us teach the principles of honesty and frugality to our children by not over-pampering them with money. And these days, we have there are little saving banks, the physical one where you can put money in it and the child will not open it for the next 10 years. And then you also have savings. The banks have kiddies savings and different things that we can start teaching our children to build up money and look forward to something in the future.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Fellow compatriots, if no single tribe or religion has defeated poverty, then no single tribe or religion can develop Nigeria. The success story of every state and capital is the contribution of every tribe and religion. Our Nigeria no be wazobia, no majorities or minorities. Every tribe and every religion still dey hustle for naira wey no get tribe or religion. So, my country people, let's join this movement that says Naira no get tribe and use the Naira to develop our Naira land. Citizens first. Citizens before state of origin. Citizens before your religion. Citizens before your ethnic belonging. For participation, call 0902 739 5555.
Welcome to Strictly Speaking once again, and thanks for joining our ongoing conversation on various aspects of the English language.
Social media has influenced the use of English language in terms of writing and speaking that art. But you must understand that communication itself is an art.
Yes, there's the art, which is the skill or the talent, or from the talent to the skill. How do you separate yourself from the gang?
Federal government set to improve the economy through medium-term development plan. Federal government set to improve the economy through medium-term development plan. Multi-billion naira Katsina Interswitch Road underway, plus correspondent x-rays the devastating effect of crystal meth. Hello, this is Panorama reaching you live from the NTA Enugu Network Center. I am Minna Adobio Kobus. The federal government is committed to improving the nation's economy through the 2021 to 2025 medium-term strategic national development plan aimed at accelerating growth and economic sustainability. Vice President Yomi Oshibajo stated this at the policy dialogue engagement with stakeholders in Lagos. Abolade Salami reports.
The Nigerian economy recorded a year-on-year growth of 5.01% in second quarter of 2021, after a negative growth of 6.10% in second quarter of 2020 as a result of the devastating effect of the global pandemic. While in third quarter of 2021, the real GDP growth rate stood at 4.03% year-on-year. In an effort to pull out the economy from the red lines and set it on the path of recovery, the federal government, through various policies aimed at economic growth, initiated the 2.3 trillion naira economic sustainability plan to support vulnerable sectors and create jobs.
We introduced what is called the Jubilee Fellowship Program. Now, this is a one-year work placement program for 20,000 young Nigerians, and it will kick off in January. Every year, we'll have 20,000 young Nigerians who are placed in the private sector and public sector, and they are paid by a special grant.
While the government is working assiduously to retain a positive economic outlook in the macroeconomic sector to encourage investment opportunity, regular dialogue with stakeholders and policy formulation was noted as key to sustainable economic growth.
It is a choice we have to make by pulling up our bootstraps and synergies as a team that is willing to earn its position among the global committee of nations.
The implementation of the medium-term plan is expected to be sustained by the fiscal and monetary measure to boost productivity. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Federal government's declaration of bandits groups operating in Nigeria as terrorists has been described as a welcome development. A legal practitioner, Yunus Otar's son, said the move will give the military the opportunity to keep the activities of the groups in check. Yunus Otas is of the view that the development will allow the Nigerian armed forces to tackle terrorists with a co-equal force to save Nigerians from the claws of terrorists.
The bandits, the Boko Harams, and so on, qualify as terrorists, even under the United Nations and international law. And the Attorney General, to my satisfaction, followed the step one by one. And I am so happy that they have declared this group a terrorist group. Because if you don't declare them like that, there is the qualification to the amount of force you can use on them. But once they are so declared, you can use any force that will prevent them from continuing their terrorist attack.
Security operatives in Kaduna have neutralized a suspected bandit and arrested an accomplice who were allegedly among kidnap syndicates terrorizing travelers along Abuja-Kaduna Highway. A statement by spokesperson, Kaduna State Police Command, ASP Mohammed Jalige, says, acting on credible intelligence, the police, in collaboration with operatives of the Federal Intelligence Bureau and Special Tactical Squad Force Headquarters, Abuja, raided a facility in Sabon Tasa, Kaduna, where a report of suspected bandits was said to have lodged. After an extensive search of the scene, the operatives recovered one AK-47 rifle loaded with 23 rounds of live ammunition, 14 expanded shells of the ammunition, and one Boxer motorcycle. The owner of the facility has also been arrested for questioning. Kaduna State government is embarking on the construction of multi-billion naira interswitch road in the state capital. Governor Aminu Bello Masari, who flagged off the construction work, says provision of infrastructure remains the priority of his administration's restoration agenda in Kaduna State. Orwell Haliru reports.
The vaccine offers hope for a safe country free of coronavirus. I urge all state governments, traditional and religious leaders to take the lead in the mobilization effort within their environment and spheres of influence. I similarly urge all eligible Nigerians to present themselves and be vaccinated in accordance with the order of priority already mapped out at the various authorized designated centers only.
Nigeria has recorded 58 new cases of COVID-19, with Imo recording the highest number of 27, followed by Lagos and Rivers State with 9 cases each, Bayelsa, FCT, Kano, and Niger tie at 2 cases each, while Bauchi and Plateau recorded 1 case each, bringing the total number of COVID-19 confirmed cases in Nigeria to 213,982, with 207,184 discharged and 2,975 deaths. Today's report, however, includes 27 confirmed cases reported for FCT on 26th of November 2021, 2 cases of Niger State for 26th November 2021, 8 discharge cases for Imo State for 26th November, and 52 discharge cases for FCT for the same date. Drug abuse has torn families apart and have utterly decimated an entire generation of people, young and old. In recent times, there is a frightening drug phenomenon sweeping across the southeast. The culprit drug, which is locally called Miri, is a brand of crystal methamphetamine, a water-soluble crystalline powder. In this report, Chideye Nwoye tries to find out more about the drug and its effects.
Generation of poor, unemployed, underemployed youths, as well as those who lost their jobs due to one problem or the other, seem to have taken to illicit drugs as an escape from poverty and depression. According to a 2018 survey conducted by Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics and the Center for Research and Information on Substance Abuse, 1 in every 7 persons in Nigeria aged between 15 to 64 had used a drug in the past years. Apart from the cases of drug addicts witnessed in many parts of the country, the Southeast Zone recently seems to be on the center stage, as 1,000 youths from the zone are getting addicted to or treating themselves to a dangerous hard drug locally called Mbulumili, which is methamphetamine or crystal meth, a synthetic water-soluble drug which affects the brain when smoked, snorted, swallowed, or injected. However, the crystal meth or methamphetamine has no medical use, as it damages the brain and the central nervous system.
Currently, we do not have that surge in Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital Enugu, but we do have cases of patients. At least, currently, we have not less than 3 to 4 cases that have used it, people that have used it on admission.
From 2009 till date, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have destroyed some laboratories where the drugs are produced and have arrested some drug addicts and barons.
Of late, we have discovered clandestine laboratories that produces these supposed illicit drugs. I think that is why we are having that increase in abuse. And incidentally, the destructive rate to human is higher than other drugs.
The early signs of crystal meth addiction include looking haggard and unkempt, borrowing and stealing of money, and other negative behavioral problems, while its effects include restlessness, high temperature, and possible death. According to health experts, there is no cure for the drug addiction, which makes it dangerous, but behavioral therapy is often adopted. Key players believe that it is crucial to focus more on the preemptive rather than the reactionary measures against this epidemic, and the approach needs to be multifaceted, coordinating with all stakeholders, including government, faith-based organizations, and community leaders. In Enugu, Chineye Nwoye, NTA News.
And of course, that report sets the stage for our discussion today on Panorama, which centers on the effect of crystal meth. And with me in the studios to discuss is none other but Ede Elijah. He is the Director, Worldwide Initiative Against Suicide and Drug. It's good to welcome you to Panorama today, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's quickly look at this drug, crystal meth. What exactly is crystal meth?
Okay. In Southeast, the popular name is Mbulumili, but globally it's called methamphetamine. and currently is used by 26 million people around the world. It's a very powerful stimulant drugs. The key thing that people drive for using it is they feel that euphoria than the normal self. You know, they want to take themselves out of the world. They want to have a feeling that ordinarily they will not have without the use of that drugs.
Okay, what do you think is the health implication of this drug?
A lot have been said about the health implication, but basically the drug affects the CNS, that is central nervous system. You see that the person will have a character deficiency or behavioral problem. Some people cannot sleep again. They will keep awake for like days, for months, depending on the person's age, sex, and how long the person have consumed it and how often the person consume it. So the more obvious effect is that of restiveness. The person cannot be himself again, and most people are also loquacious. They are talkative in nature, and what the person is saying has no sense, because when someone is saying something and it has meaning, of course we don't have problem with it. But someone who is saying after some time is no longer normal again, because we need meaningful words to communicate.
Okay, talking about communication, let's look at the short and long-term effect of crystal meth to the individual and, of course, the society at large.
Basically, the short-term effect is whoever that consume it, we be living in a world called world of delusion. Some of them will have what we call hallucination. That is, to be hearing voices that ordinarily you won't hear. Okay? So, but the long-term effect is the person can, let me use the word psychiatric, they call them patient. The person can go mad. Okay? And most youths have dropped out of school. I was going through a lady's case. She said she applied for a particular course, which she's supposed to do for 2 years. But she ended up doing that course for 13 years because of this drug. And most of them are rebellious. She said she was rebellious. Her parents can no longer control them. Another one was she lost her father, and because of her character. She lost her mother because of her character. So the long-term effect is that the family will lose, the individual will lose, and the community or the society that is supposed to, gain from that particular youth will also lose, because they say youths are leaders of tomorrow. And when the youth that is supposed to add value to the society is no longer seen, it will affect everything about that society.
So what do you think can be done to stamp out this crystal meth?
First and foremost, I must say our governments are trying. But if you look, there is increase in childbearing. So government should be able to do more calculation on how to provide jobs. People are unemployed. Then the ones who have employment are underpaid. And they have family load to carry. And so if government can create more jobs and, if possible, increase salary for people who are already employed, it will help. Then secondly, there should be opportunity for people who are not interested in formal education to go to vocational education. Some people have skills, but no one to encourage them. Some people have ideas, but they are rejected when they want to share it with others. So there should be a favorable policy. The country should accept that people are unique. If I am qualified to work, let there be opportunity for at least certain number of people. Because currently, more than 50 million Nigerians are unemployed. And that will increase criminality, that will increase theft, that will increase all manner of insecurity issues in Nigeria. If someone who is a graduate doesn't have what to do, he will look for means to survive. And that is why, if our government can provide job, I'm very, very sure some people will be engaged, because idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Okay, you've been in the business, of drugs and suicide. You've been an ambassador for all of that. So, what category of people are mostly, into this crystal meth consumption?
Okay, the drug doesn't have specification, but people who usually get involved are the youth. By privilege, I'm the president, African Youth Development Council, then the director, Worldwide Initiative Against Suicide and Drugs. We have enjoyed support from all ramifications, because they want the youth, who are leaders of tomorrow, to live up to expectation. So the key people who are abusing these drugs are youth, because it's a party drugs.
Okay, finally, before I let you go, what advice do you have for youths?
Okay, what I will tell the youth is that don't always expect that people will help you. You have to start the process. If you want to succeed, know what you want. When you start doing it, others will see reason to support you. I didn't wait for people to help me. I started. And to the glory of God, I have received certain level of support, both from Nigeria and outside Nigeria.
Okay, Mr. Elijah Ede, I must thank you so much for coming on Panorama today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my
dear. All right, I've been speaking with Mr. Elijah Ede, Director, Worldwide Initiative Against Suicide and Drug. Moving on, Enugu State government says it will continue to invest in infrastructure and human development of various schools and teachers in the state. The Commissioner for Education, Professor Uche Eze, was speaking at a workshop on improving standard of education in the state. Chika Ugu reports.
Basic education is the right of every child. It is to this end that the Enugu State government has continued to train and retrain teachers, prioritize welfare of teachers, build and renovate dilapidated school structures with over 1,500 classroom blocks constructed across the 17 local government areas of the state from the year 2015 to 2020.
For any organization to survive, if they don't have an appropriate monitoring and evaluation framework, you'll find it difficult to achieve your results. But because of the constant supervision and monitoring, we are confident that most of our teachers go to school and attend to their lessons.
Despite the state government's numerous achievements in ensuring conducive learning environment and qualified teachers, there are still challenges needed to be addressed.
This generally aims to understand how school systems in developing countries can overcome the ongoing learning crisis in developing countries, including Nigeria, and it manifests in different ways. One is that teachers lack skills and motivation, and children, which are the demand side, they are unprepared to learn.
A research collection phase presented by the Research Associate CC Obina Obuike through excerpts from a documentary shows that 3 local government areas of Enugu State were chosen for the research using questionnaires, assessment of students through standardized tests, and communication with community leaders, parents, teachers, and government. Research showed lack of security, lack of toilet facility, unconducive learning environment, among all the challenges, were factors affecting standard education in various communities. The data gathered further informed a summit discussion of government's representatives, research team, and education stakeholders, where a document was signed assuring them of government's commitment to address the challenges raised in the projects and summits. In Enugu, Chika Ugu, NTA News.
Technology has been identified as a tool to charge the tourism market, increase reach, enhance the tourism potentialities, and also demand new skills from tourism entrepreneurs. The Director General, Nigeria Tourism Development Corporation, Folorunse Koka, made this known at the Southeast Stakeholders Forum in Enugu. Chimaroke Ugu has details.
Tourism is the fulcrum for societal development, which in essence has influenced nations to look inward and develop essential areas for global attraction. It is against this backdrop that an interactive forum for stakeholders of tourism in the Southeast was organized by the National Tourism Development Corporation on utilizing digital tools for optimization and destination marketing. The interactive forum is to enhance digital transformation of tourism and increase the visibility on a global scale to facilitate larger coverage.
The future is driven by technology, and technology has a wonderful relationship with tourism.
The governor of Enugu State and the permanent secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, who presented, eulogized the choice of the theme, stating that utilizing digital tools will help in boosting the tourism sector in Nigeria.
Tourism cannot really thrive effectively without the participation of private investors.
Digital transformation has created great opportunities for tourism businesses and destinations.
Some keynote speakers and stakeholders maintain that the digital technology will be instrumental in transforming the tourism sector and increasing its revenue.
Technology drives development. And with technology, you can expand your markets.
Since our country, Nigeria, is blessed with abundant products, it is very easy for us to use this to showcase our products.
We have so many sellable sites, tourist sites, that are just not explored. Nigeria can make a whole lot of money. We have them, but what are we doing with them is the question.
The Director General of the corporation was conferred the chieftaincy title of Eni Ndibo by the Traditional Rulers Council of the Southeast. In Enugu, Chimaroke Ugu, NTA News.
Olaliko Kilajolu is our guide on sports update.
The Confederation of African Football has postponed the Confederation Cup playoff first leg fixture between Al Ittihad and Enyimba FC. The fixture was initially scheduled for Sunday, November 28 in Tunisia, but Enyimba were denied access to Tunisia as a result of strict COVID-19 travel restrictions in the country. In a statement by the African Football Governing Body, the match will not take place on the 28th of November 2021 as scheduled and will be postponed. The new venue and date of the match will be announced soon after consultation with CAF Interclub Committee. Still on football, the chief